Welcome to my program, Bashy's Corner. As usual, we take issues in the society which mainstream media doesn't bother. In this age of extremism and terrorism, there is an ongoing discussion all over the West, including my own lovely Denmark. What is the position of Muslim communities where they live? The situation has become so dire that the police authorities have even asked schools and education institutions to keep an eye on pupils with Muslim background. Any remark that does not fit with the majority thinking or maybe is considered dangerous should be reported. And this atmosphere of fear has been created also by the media. And a good example is today's very big free newspaper, which is showing the ongoing festival in Roskilde, which is one of the largest in the world, and it says that Roskilde festival is being open under the influence and the shadow of terrorism. God forbid. That is why, to discuss all those issues, we have invited researcher and professor from Center for Teaching and Learning, University of Copenhagen, the University of College Zealand, because she has been involved in education system, democracy and freedom of expression, as well as hate speech. In addition, we will also discuss how to prevent child and youth political radicalization in the Danish schools, children's perspective on that issue, and democracy and gender. These are huge issues, but we will try to get by that. Welcome to my program, Lene, Kofoed.
Thanks a lot.
You studied cultural sociology and, of course, have a PhD in contemporary Middle Eastern studies from Carsten Niebo Institute, which is a very respected place in Denmark. What made you interested in this subject, specifically in Middle East, for example?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here, and then for your kind introduction. And it's true, I do have a PhD, but you came in the you came to say that I was a professor. I'm not yet.
Okay.
And I might not ever be. No problem. Assistant professor would be a more correct title for me.
To me, you are more than a professor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. But you asked about my why I started studying the
issue of Middle East. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's a long time ago.
Okay.
Kind of hard to remember what first spurred my interest. Uh-huh. But I think it was a mixture of political, private issues and research issues as well. I remember from my very young days that I was interested in the Palestinian cause.
Okay.
Later on, I worked with refugees for a period in the middle of the 80s and made friends, very good, close friends, with some refugees, among them some Palestinians. Okay. So that was my first interest.
So it is more like a political awareness.
Yes, that was a part of it at that time.
Okay.
Then
what was the private thing?
The private things, yes, I met and made very good friends, and became attracted to the people, the culture in general. Mm-hmm. I remember as well to go to an exhibition at Louisiana and being quite high on Islamic art.
Okay, that's
and
true.
And I think a lot of different small things put together made me take this direction.
But we are very happy that you got interested in that. At least, we have a good researcher with a good heart. But what was your field work and where was it?
Actually, I thought, as I said, I was in the beginning very interested in the Palestinian cause, and I decided to travel to Palestine in 87. I made the decision, and I earned money to go there.
Okay.
And then when just when I was about to leave, then the first Intifada broke out in late '87.
Intifada is a Palestinian rebellion against Israel.
Yes,
Israeli
exactly.
occupation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And nobody really knew whether it was safe to go there. So I went to Cairo instead, where I had some friends. I later on this same year went further on to Palestine, but then I became very interested in this big city and the life in Cairo, and that was my main field in my PhD and a part of my field for my master thesis.
Okay, and after your studies, did you teach right away, or you joined some research institute?
Well, when I finished my PhD, I had almost 1 year in Hebron, in
Israel.
I would say Palestine,
Occupied territories.
Yes. And in an observer mission, where I had my obligation was to take care of community relations. We were Department for Community Relations.
So it was in 1999?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Israel, you came back to Denmark to join Danish Center for Social Research, SFE, I can remember that.
Yes, that's right.
What were the areas of your work there?
Well, I was employed to do some minority studies, and at that time the institute wanted to develop a program on ethnic minorities and integration.
I remember very well your colleague Kristen Jeppesen.
Yes.
We had a wonderful discussion with her.
Yes.
So it was that time.
Yes,
Okay.
and she was the head of the program,
yes.
actually. But in the years to come, the interest in this field was not as big as the Institute expected. So I became more involved in various projects on youth and youth who committed crimes, group-related crimes, and yes, that was my main projects in this period.
When you say crime, what does it mean?
Oh,
Stealing chocolate?
It wasn't defined by crime, but more by the. There was a new measure at that time called Ungdomsaktion. That was one of the issues that I looked into and evaluated.
I also understand that you coordinated a festival actually in those years. Images are you part of that. Images of Middle East, I remember that was a beautiful initiative. Why did you get involved in cultural activities from teaching?
Well, I took a break from research and teaching for some years.
You got tired of that?
Yes, I got a little fed up with it and wanted to go more out to work in maybe closer to places where things were actually happening
to the ground.
Instead of only studying from outside, then to be part of what was going on. And then for a very short time I was involved with the festival in 2006. The Festival of the Middle East, Images of the Middle East. And if I should say...
That was the first festival looking at that area, isn't it?
Yes, yes, I think so.
But then you got involved with traumatized refugees, you know,
yes.
who had trauma. Do all refugees who come here have traumas or some stories? Which
not all, I don't think so.
Okay. And many?
I don't know about the numbers, and maybe I'm not so... I was not only working with traumatized refugees.
But
that
women,
was
women
one group.
refugees, you know?
Yeah, and women migrants as well.
Okay.
And I became aware of a certain pattern that seemed to be there not only for refugees but for a lot of women who had left their home behind and traveled to a new place like Denmark.
To join families?
Some of them to join families, others for other reasons.
Yes.
And that there was a pattern in the hardships that they met here. It was very difficult to come, especially when you came and maybe had some status from where you came from.
And here you're
came
zero.
to yes, and that meant that a lot of women who were not from conflict zones and had not experienced wars, but still they developed some of the same signs of maybe not trauma, but very severe difficulties.
Stress,
yeah.
For many years, you have been also a member of a granting committee under Kofoed, which is a very big organization for women's rights and gender equality. When we discuss the Middle East, why focus only on gender equality and gay rights and all this? Middle East is much more than that.
Well, now you say gender equality, and I think it's not the term you would find that I would add to the work I've been doing
no,
with
I don't
gender.
mean you, I mean the society.
Yes. But I would like to explain
please.
my interest in
Sure.
working with the Middle Eastern women, especially. That was the topic of my PhD as well. My interest was that I think we have a very monolithic picture of what a Muslim woman is. And at that time, maybe even more so than today.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting to try to dig up some stories about women who maybe could disturb our picture of the Muslim woman.
There's a need for disturbing our picture of Muslim women?
Yes, certainly there is.
Okay.
I think that maybe today the need is still there, but today we have a lot of the women here themselves, Muslim women who speak up.
Now.
Yes.
I also want to go back to your education and your teaching career. In your position at Center for Teaching and Learning at University College, what issues are your main focus and what is the teaching subjects you are involved in?
I am the course that I teach the most is a course that is mandatory for all teacher students. It's at their first year that they have to learn about citizenship. They have to learn about religion in a multicultural society and something about ethics in the profession. That's one subject altogether.
And this is for teachers who you train or educate those people who want to be teachers and teach later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I actually find it a very important subject.
It is.
It can be a challenge to persuade the students that this is something they have to deal with.
Exactly.
Because maybe they think that they just want to become a math teacher or a teacher in sports or whatever. So they think, why should I deal with multiculturalism and why should I know something about religion, both Christianity and Islam, and how we can have a school where students can live together.
You not only teach these people who will be teachers, but you also have research obligations, isn't it?
Yes.
What are those obligations?
Well, I've been involved for the last 2 years in a project together with colleagues on if and how schools can help preventing pupils to become radicalized later in life.
Okay.
And we have changed that subject into a project about the school ability to how to say it, to influence the children in a democratic way, democratic or political Bildung, you might say.
Now I want to take this word radicalization.
Yes.
It's an American word which was taken over by the Europeans without understanding the difference between America and Europe. As I understand, the word radical has nothing to do with extremism or terrorism. It means a wish to change the society. Now, why do we use this word, this silly word radicalization? I ask you because you are involved in that, teaching that. Why can't we find some neutral word?
Yes, I tend to agree with you that this term is
very loaded.
Yes, it is very loaded. On the other hand, I think I have all my career I have been involved in subjects where you have some very loaded terms that you might not like, and one strategy is just to avoid the words.
Yeah.
But then I think you miss an opportunity to influence the debate on the subject.
No,
so I would like rather to work with the word and give it another.
But wouldn't it be better, Lene, that you, in your position of an authority and knowledge, that you are part of changing this discourse and narrative?
I'm working hard on it. Yeah, but I just try to say maybe the right strategy, if you want to change the discourse, is not always just to omit. To erase a word. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's better to try to make this word mean something else.
Okay.
And I might say in a bit of a provocative way, but I would sometimes, at least to my students and in other forums as well, say that, we need more radicalization, not less.
I also say the same thing because in my international work with discrimination, Islamophobia, I say to people, I'm also radical, but I'm radical for human rights. In Denmark, we have a very big political party called Radical. So we have to somehow demystify this word, but anyway, coming back to schools in Denmark.
Yes.
We have many children from ethnic minority background in schools in different places, different municipalities. Don't you think that we should also teach these teachers the sense of diversity, that Denmark is not a monocultural, mono-ethnic, mono-religious society? Do you do that too?
Certainly, yeah, that's what part of this teaching subject is about that I'm teaching.
So are those teachers receptive of what you're teaching, or they just want to have a monocultural Denmark?
Oh, well, I think they are quite receptive. Some of them don't care, others are very interested. So I think it's my task to make them interested during this year that I have them.
Coming to a very sensitive issue of what we talked about this, which is bothering many Muslim communities, including myself. I'm not religious, but it bothers me, all these debates in Denmark and in the West, this so-called radicalization, we discussed that. Radicalization in the schools. I have been told by a young man who will be a teacher, but he has a Palestinian background, that the police have sent guidelines to schools where to keep an eye on Muslim pupils' behavior. Do you know anything about that?
It might be so. I am aware that PET,
the Secret Service.
Yes, the Secret Service, sometime a few years ago opened up a hotline where teachers, among others, could call if they experienced something in schools. Maybe that's the story you have heard. I'm not sure anything came out from the police, but I want to tell more about this. I think there was a trend, and as far as I have understood, it's already over, fortunately. But there was a trend when the interest in this field first came up a few years ago, that all professionals should take part in this spotting of the radicals, whether in schools or everywhere else. And that gave rise to hotlines, both in PET, and last year, for a short time, there was a hotline too in the Ministry of Education for teachers. But
where they could call and say, well, one of my students has started growing beard. He says, inshallah, mashallah, too much. Or a girl has started wearing a headscarf. Is this kind of reporting?
Yes, I think that was what they intended. But they have by now, and that's what I want to tell you. They have not closed it down, but they have changed it into a hotline where teachers can ask for advice how to organize or facilitate more democracy in their classes.
But these teachers then come to NGOs like ours, and we can tell them many things more than the police or the PET or the education ministry.
Oh yes, but this was not the police and PET. That was the Ministry of Education, and some of the last material they have developed is. To my point, it makes sense. It's quite interesting. So I think they have been listening to the critique from the same organizations that you mentioned.
Is it the teacher's job to spy on children?
No, not at all. And that's what I say as well. You know? And that's what I say as well. And I think that point has been taken actually by now. From various organizations have made this critique, and some researchers, among them myself, and it has now been heard.
Do you know from where this word comes from? This word radicalization?
Oh, well, I haven't studied the whole...
That'll be interesting to study that, because I did.
Yes.
It's an American abbreviation, because I gave a lecture in Athens to the American ambassadors in Europe, and that was the issue. They took it up, and when I told them that radical doesn't absolutely mean extremist or terrorist, but a progressive person who wants change in the society, they were not willing to learn. And that is so strange that in all these discussions there are many loaded words are used about Muslims without asking the Muslims what they think. Word jihadist and Islamist, all these kind of, which actually make many young people angry, that to stigmatize them or to label them, you know. Don't you think we should think more in more global way instead of labeling people?
Certainly, and I'm thinking about it all the time. That's what my projects are about. And I would like to make it clear that when we started out this research project, we were very eloquent about that. We were actually we wanted to look at some processes that took place in schools, not specifically around Muslims, regarding Muslims, children, but regarding pupils in general. And as I said, it ended out with advices to teachers how to make schools a more kind of political public, where students could more, or pupils could more easily air their different views.
And express their opinions.
Yes.
Yes. Without being afraid.
Yes.
That's a wonderful initiative. You are also an expert in Middle Eastern cultural values. What can we in Denmark and in the West learn from the Middle East?
I think that's
top of
a
your
very big question.
Well, you can answer. You are a very articulate person, so you can answer.
Yes, but I think if I would say that in short, it would be the same as saying the Middle East is one and it's unified.
Yes, of course.
I can tell you that I have been attracted very much to that part of the world.
Yes.
I think there are some I think there's a nice social life.
Family values?
Yes. And a very nice way of inviting people like myself into their lives. In some parts of the Middle East, in those parts who are not so conflict-ridden, there is a kind of more light spirit, exactly. I think, yes, when it comes to Cairo, that I came to love so very much. I think that what you say in the Middle East about the Egyptians, Damhum Khafif, it means that their blood is light. Yes. And I think that's right. They are smiling and very joking people who are very good at creating a nice atmosphere. But yeah, at the same time, I really find it difficult to say this culture has this value.
What I was thinking is that in West, they always say that Muslims can learn from us democracy, human rights, without thinking that they already do, many of them, you know. Now, my last question is, Denmark, as we know, is a de facto intercultural, inter-ethnic and inter-religious society. My question is to educationalists, why it is so hard for Danes to accept this fact?
I wanted to.
Okay. Would it ever be?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I think we have to try to believe it, and we have to talk as if it could happen, and not you and me and all us who wants it to be just a natural fact that we have differences in our society. We have to, in the way we talk about it, we have to make it not upholding it by talking about it as if it's something that cannot go away.
But we should practice it.
Yes, yes, we should.
Lene, thank you very much for coming and sharing your knowledge and wonderful views you have. And I'm sure that our viewers, after listening to Lene, would understand that Denmark is not a monoculture society, but it has a lot of different people who live here with different culture, with different background, different religions, and that is what would make Denmark a beautiful country to live in. Until next time, take good care of yourself.